Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at a lot of control statements in Java, the decision making statements. Control statements. Java compiler executes the code from top to bottom, means the statements in the code are executed in the order in which they appear. However, Java provides statements that can be used to control the flow of code. Such statements are called control statements or flow control statements. This fundamental feature of Java provides a smooth flow of program. There are three types of control statements: decision making statements, if statements, and switch statements, loop statements, do while loop, for loop, and for each loop, jump statements, break statement, and a continue statement. Today, we will look at the decision making control statements. Decision making control statements. In programming, we face some situation where we want a certain block of code to be executed when some condition is fulfilled. When you use decision statements in your program, you are basically telling the program to evaluate a given expression to determine what needs to be done. Decision making statements decide which statement execute and when. They evaluate the Boolean expression and control the program flow depending upon the result of the condition provided. There are two types of decision making statements in Java: if statement and a switch statement. If statement. If statement is the simplest decision making statement. It is used to decide whether a certain statement or block of statements will be executed or not. That is, if a certain condition is true, then a block of statement is executed. Otherwise, not. There are four types of if statements in Java: simple if else, else if ladder, and nested if. Simple if statement. As the name indicates, it is the most basic and the simplest statement among all control flow statements. It simply evaluates an expression to a boolean and enables the program enter a block of code if the expression evaluates to true. Syntax: if then parenthesis, the expression within the parenthesis must evaluate to a boolean that is true or false, then a code block. Typically, you are testing something to see if it is true and then running a code block if it is true. Example: if else statement. The simple if statement tells us that if the condition is true, execute the block of code. In case of false, the code block does not execute at all. Let's say you want to execute another block of code when the condition fails. Java provides us with else statement. The if else statement is an extension to the if statement. The else block is executed if the expression in the if block is evaluated as false. Syntax: if condition block of code, else and a block of code. When the condition is false, else block executes. Example: if else if ladder statement. The if else if ladder statement contains the if statement followed by multiple else if statements. The multiple options form a ladder or decision tree like structure. When one of the conditions in the if or else if is true, the code block associated with that statement is executed and the rest of the ladder is bypassed. If none of the conditions are true, then the final else statement will be executed if available. There can be only one if block and only one else block, but can have any number of else if blocks in between them. General syntax. Example: nested if statement. If statement that is the target of another if or if else or if or else is called nested if statement. It means if statements inside an if statement. General syntax. Example: statement. Switch statement supports execute the different parts of the code based on the value of the expression. Switch statement contains multiple cases. Each case is a block of code that is executed based on the variable or expression value provided to the switch statement. In a way, switch statements are similar to if else statements but provide better readability to the program. Syntax: switch keyword followed by expression within the parenthesis and a block of code. Inside the block, multiple case statements, each evaluates the value provided from the switch and executes the block of code associated with that case only if the value matches the case. The break statement terminates the execution of the switch statement when the condition is satisfied. It is optional. The default case gets executed when none of the case matches with the value of expression, and it is optional. Example: there are some key points to remember with switch case statements in Java. They are: the expression or case variables can be byte, short, int, char, or enumeration. From JDK 7 onwards, the expression can also be of type string. Cases cannot be duplicate. Default case is optional and gets executed when none of the case matches with the value of expression. The break statement terminates the switch block when the condition is satisfied. If not used, next case is executed. That is, if the break keyword is omitted, execution will continue to the next case. While using switch statements, must notice that the variable type will be the same as that of the case expression. However, it can also be a constant. Let's look at some examples to understand in details. Had created demo simple if class to illustrate how a simple if statement works. Inside the main method, had created an integer variable a and assigned the value as 9. In the if statement, checking whether a is lesser than 10. If true, printing a is less than 10. In the same class, have another print statement outside of the if block to show that it will execute irrespective of the if statement. As a value is lesser, the flow goes inside the if block. Prints a is less than 10. And also, code outside the block gets executes. Let's keep a breakpoint and check the execution flow. You had seen how the flow goes. The output is printed as expected. Now assume the value of a is 10. The expression inside if statement will fail and the print statement within the if block does not execute, while the print statement outside the if statement only executes. For else if statement, had created a class demo else if, and inside the main method integer variable a is assigned with value 9. The expression inside the if block is a lesser than or equal to 10. So whenever a is greater than 10, the code on the else part execute. Here the block of code within the if statement executes. When I change the value of a to 20, the block inside the else part executes. For if else if ladder, had created a class demo if else if and the integer variable value is 9. The first if is a greater than 10. Then the first else if is a is equal to 10. The second else if is a is lesser than or equal to 5. And finally else statement. Let's debug and check the flow. As you can see, the moment any one of the else if condition is satisfied, the other statement in the ladder are skipped. To show it better, let's change the value of a to 10. After the first else if all other statements in the ladder are skipped. For the last of if statement types, nested if had created a class demo nested if integer variable a is assigned with value 11. Inside the if statement that check a is greater than or equal to 10, first line simply prints a is greater than or equal to 10. Then we have further if statements within the if statement. First inner if is a equal to 10. Second inner if is a less than 15. Let's debug and check. The output is printed as expected. Let's change the value of a to 10. As you can see, both if blocks are executed. Java allows inline if statement as well. That is, when there is only one line inside the if statement, it is not necessary to define within curly braces. Like this, we can have inline if statement which would exactly work the same. The same is for else and else if also. But if you want more than one line to execute, like here, you need to define proper block with curly braces. Moving on to switch statement, had created a class demo switch case. Inside main method, integer variable a with value 15. Then switch statement, switch a within the parenthesis. Defined multiple cases, each one for 5, 10, 15, 20, and there is a default statement also. After the case 15 is satisfied, because of the break, it will skip case 20 check and come out of the switch statement. Let's debug and check. Case 20 is skipped as expected. The output is printed as expected. Let's remove the break statement. If there is no break statement, then case 20 will execute. One more check we can do is whether the default statement executes. Changing a value to 8. As you can see, the default is executed. Have another class here, demo switch with string, to show how switch case work with string variable. There isn't any difference here. The working principle and the flow is the same. Skill check. First question. Second question. Third question. Fourth question. Fifth question. You can't write Java programs without properly knowing the decision making control statements in Java. In most of Java program or project dealing with the real world problem, at some point the decision making control statements will be used. If you are new to programming, I recommend to keep practicing by considering real world problems that involves decision making. It can be simple problems like minimum of 3 numbers and maximum of 3 numbers and many others. The more you practice, the better you will get in writing decision making statements with efficient expressions using operators. Thank you.